MLP series review, season 1, episode 6, Boast Busters. So this episode is primarily a Twilight episode, but we do get the introduction of Trixie Lula Moon. If you look at the the extended universe, I don't know if they mention Lula Moon in the series later. Maybe they do. Um, Trixie she becomes a humongous part of the story. Like, she's one of the saviors of Equestria. I don't even think Celestia is a savior of Equestria in the series. Maybe before. I guess technically she is because she saved Equestria when she defeated Nightmare Moon. Okay, we'll be more fair. Luna's not even a savior of Equestria. I don't think in the entire. Oh well, maybe she did because she killed the Tantabus. Oh yeah, she also created the Tantabus. Um. Anyways, uh, this episode is kind of weird. I mean, it makes sense a little bit, but it's still kind of weird. What happens is not Trixie, I'm sorry. Twilight's practicing spells. She's got like 25 different things she could do with magic, and Spike's really impressed with her. She's like, "You're so great. Your special talent is magic. That's so many different things to do." And they go to center of town or whatever, and Trixie is there, and she's doing her little show. And Trixie's a big old show off, and she's like, "I'm the greatest, and nobody's as good as me, and you all are lame." And it really pushes the buttons of Rarity, Rainbow Dash, and Applejack. Fluttershy and Pinky are nowhere to be seen in this episode. Probably not Pinky, especially because Pinky would be able to do things that you just can't explain, and it's like, yeah, beat that. Um, so what happens is Trixie challenges any of the ponies to be better than her at anything, and this is really where it just doesn't make sense because it's like she pulls the Light Yagami thing. Um, so Rainbow Dash flies around and does a bunch of cool stuff flying, and then Trixie just like magically forms a rainbow and hurts her, and then it's like, okay, and then Applejack like does stuff with her lasso and is all amazing with it, and then Trixie just ties her up. It's like, okay, and then Rarity does like a really nice, like, makes herself look beautiful, and then Trixie turns her hair green, and it's like, you didn't do anything, Trixie. It's like if I was like, watch this, I'm really good with this gun at, like, if for example, Tombstone, when Doc Holliday and Johnny Ringo are doing the gun twirling thing. Yes, Doc Holliday does it with a cup, but it's still twirling. He's like, "You twirl, look, I twirl too, and I'm so good at it." It's mocking, right? But it makes sense because they're both gun twirling. It's like if it's like if there was a gunslinger pony and he was like, "I'm really good at gun tricks, like twirling," and he just like and he twirled it all crazy and was flipping it and catching it and throwing it with his magic and stuff, and like just could do it all great, and then he caught it and holstered it, and he was like, "Beat that," and she just pulled out his gun and shot him. It's like, okay, well, I guess you win, Trixie. Again, like the Light Yagami thing, it's like, oh, Light's better than L. How? He tricked Rem. How is that better than L? Well, he tricked Rem and Rem killed L. Okay, that's not tricking L. You just did something in a roundabout way. You got L killed, and that's not being better than L. So I really always that whole scene has bothered me because it's such a dumb, especially since like the ponies are impressed. Like, I'd be like, you're just beating them up. You're not doing anything, Trixie. Get off the stage. If you can't fly like that, or lasso like that, or be beautiful like that, then you didn't really do anything. You just beat them up with your magic. It's again, it's like if like a pony as strong as Twilight was on stage and she's like, "Yeah, I'm better than everyone. Try and beat me at something." And they did the same things, and Twilight just shot them with a blast of energy and knocked them off stage and was like, "See, I'm better." Um so what happens is Spike really wants Twilight to get on stage and show up Trixie, but Twilight is like really worried about looking boastful, so she's like, "I don't want to. Like, you see how they react. I don't want them to think I'm a big boasting show off," which makes sense for this point in the series because Twilight hasn't been friends with them for that long, and she doesn't really know how friendship works and stuff. Like, clearly, Twilight, you're not being the same as Trixie. Trixie is just doing it because she's like, "I'm better than you all," and you would be doing it to say, "Hey, you're not that great. Maybe calm down a bit." Um, so what happens is Trixie goes away. They all go away. Everybody goes away back to their homes or whatever. Snips and Snails, I think this is their debut too. They're really bad characters. They don't even make sense. Snips's special talent is he can use scissors, and Snails is slow. I don't. They don't. They're really bad characters. They're comedy characters. They're comedy characters for the sake of comedy characters that don't work even as comedy characters. They're just really. I think Snips might in fact be Canadian or something because he uses a lot. It's really weird. I don't. They're bad characters. So what happens is uh because Trixie told a story about beating an Ursa Major, uh, Snips and Snails are like, yeah, nobody's better than Trixie. She beat an Ursa Major, and Spike is like, yeah, how do you know? Do you have proof? And they're like, no, and he's like, well, then she could just be lying. So Snips and Snails go and they wake what they think is an Ursa Major. It's actually an Ursa Minor, and they basically lure it to town. And they're like, just beat it, Trixie. You beat it before. And Trixie was obviously lying. So she's like, I can't. She tries her dumb little magics and they don't do anything. Her little beat up magic don't work on a giant bear. So they're running or whatever. And then Twilight like hears about it because Spike is like help. And Twilight goes out and she this is where it shows Twilight's magic is like really, really strong for a unicorn. It's still not on the level of like Celestia and stuff because, like I said, you have that episode in season 9, the between the dawn and the dusk or whatever, where they're literally moving like entire bridges, city bridges, like just with no problem, like just floop floop, and like, oh, that's comedy, yeah, maybe, but they still move the sun and the moon. So what happens is, um, Twilight, Twilight uses like a sleeping spell and kind of like dazes the Ursa Minor, and then she picks it up and she, man, what order does she do it in? She uses the sleep spell to make it tired, and then she like there's like a water tower and she dumps the water from the water tower and she passes the water tower through a cow barn and milks all of the cows, and then the thing is full of milk, and then she makes a bottle out of it, and then she feeds her magic is like really dumb, like so at that point she's telekinetically lifting a water a water tower, basically. She's moving that while milking cows, while moving the water tower, like through the barn. It's ridiculous. And then she feeds the Ursa Minor and it kind of goes to sleep, and then she telekinetically lifts it and takes it back so that it's den or whatever. And Applejack, Rarity, and Rainbow Dash are like, holy moly, like we didn't know you were that strong. And like Twilight's like, please don't hate me. And it's like, you're a dork, Twilight. They're not gonna hate you. And they're like, you're a dork, Twilight. We're not gonna hate you. And they're like, yeah, that's talent. You're not boastful. You're just really good at magic. There's a difference between being boastful and being dumb like Trixie. And Trixie does a little smoke explosion and runs away. So no reformation for Trixie yet. She gets one later, but yeah, she's kind of just still dumb and she runs away from Ponyville. And then we find out that it wasn't an Ursa Major, it was an Ursa Minor, and they show the Ursa Major, and the Ursa Major is like 7 times bigger than the Ursa Minor, and it looks terrifyingly scary. Um, but this episode was pretty good. Love Trixie, even though she's a jerk and she's dumb. She redeems herself later, and she becomes really likable. Twilight being cute is always great. Twilight being like unable to understand how friendship works completely because she's so socially awkward is great. Uh, uh, the only weird parts I'd say are the uh are the challenge that Trixie does, because like I said, I still don't understand how that makes sense at all. I really like Trixie's design. She looks amazing with her like purple wizard hat and her cape and like her blue and light blue. Like her design is probably like next down below Luna and Celestia. If I'm not mistaken, anyone else, maybe Sunset, maybe Sunset is just above her because um because Sunset's colors really meld well with her name, Sunset. But they are definitely like top four. But yeah, I'd say this. I don't really know if this episode is a 5 or a 4. There's no song, but you get an introduction of a really good character. But you have that. I think I have to give it a 4. I think I have to give it a 4 for that weird, like, challenge thing because that takes up a lot of the episode and it's really nonsensical. I don't understand how anybody would be like, "You're just beating him up, Trixie. Stop it." So yeah, I'd say a solid 4 out of 5 stars.